Well, hello, and welcome to The Difference Makers. We are here live on LinkedIn. We are here live on Facebook and live on YouTube. We are here to share those who are making a difference in the lives of others using their gifts, talents, and abilities. And this week is no different. We have a guest that is going to help you from a legal standpoint. We have with us today Cheri Andrews. Cheri Andrews is a small business attorney, and she's licensed in Pennsylvania and Maryland. However, she can serve you in various ways as well. She uses flat rate and subscription pricing models that take the fear out of legal fees. We know that's always something of a concern. She partners with female-owned and operated small businesses and solopreneurs so that they can move forward with confidence, knowing their business is legally protected and positioned for success. She has over 30 years of experience in both law firm and corporate settings, and she earned a prestigious in-house counsel certification from the Association of Corporate Counsel. Cheri's practice areas include business formation, contracts, policies, copyrights, and trademarks, and other business needs. While some of her services are limited to her areas that she's licensed in, Cheri can provide copyright and trademark services which are based on federal law nationally. She's also the author of Smooth Sailing, a practical guide to legally protecting your business. Smooth Sailing is available in both ebook and paperback anywhere books are sold, and she's going to share more about that when she comes to the virtual stage. Let's welcome Cheri Andrews. Welcome, Cheri.
Hi, Jacqueline. Nice to see you.
It is great to have you here on The Difference Makers. And of course, the first question that is always on board is, how are you making a difference in the world using your gifts, talents, and abilities?
That's a great question, Jacqueline. I want to say I have the privilege and the honor of working with some amazing small business owners who are operating very unique and inspiring businesses. And I get to help them put their own brand of good out in the world by making sure they're doing so in a way that's legally compliant and legally protected.
Well, that is always the scariest part of starting a business. And when they have someone like you in their corner, what kinds of things can they expect to now be at ease with?
Knowing that they have the right business entity for what they are trying to do, knowing that they have contracts that have the necessary legal protections so that hopefully they never get sued, but if they do, their contract is going to stand up in court. Knowing that they have the right policies in place so that they're compliant with whatever regulations are applicable to the industry they're working in. And knowing that their intellectual property needs have been addressed and that their intellectual property is being protected, and also that they're not infringing the intellectual property of other people.
Well, I definitely want to get on the topic of intellectual property, because we go into business because we have intellectual property that we want to showcase, but we also want to protect. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we even get to that, when we're starting off our business, or maybe we've been in business for a few years and we are looking at legal fees to be able to do the things that we need to do to protect our business. When someone goes into business, they often think about, I need a lawyer, an accountant, and maybe a marketing person. And we kind of hold back on the legal because we think it's going to be expensive, and we think it's going to be a lot of other things. Sometimes it's just a mindset. But we want you to bust those myths and share with us your very unique strategy of subscription-based pricing and the other strategies that you have that make it easy for either that new entrepreneur or that existing entrepreneur to really get the services they need from a legal standpoint.
That's an excellent point, Jacqueline. And for me, when I chose to market my business and make my primary target audience be small businesses, and even more specifically, solopreneurs and micro businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I knew going in that these are businesses that operate on a shoestring budget, no budget at all, or, very limited budget. Clearly, they don't have the bandwidth to bring an attorney on staff. But having been an attorney on staff in the corporate world, I know how valuable that is to a business to have someone that you can call at any time and say, we're doing this thing and we're not sure, is there a problem here legally? Is there anything we need to be aware of? Are there any ramifications we're not thinking about? And so knowing that I'm dealing with clients who are on a very, thin budget, I wanted to make sure that my services would be accessible. So everything, I don't do hourly fees. I just don't. Everything is a flat rate or a subscription fee model. On the flat rate, that means there's a set package of services that you're purchasing, and you know exactly what you're getting and exactly how much you're paying up front, so that you don't have to worry about a surprise bill at the end and some attorney taking 3 times as long as you thought they were going to get something done. It benefits both sides because I can take whatever time I need to get it done and get it done right, and the client doesn't have to worry about bills mounting up. On the subscription-based model, that the idea there is really a lawyer in your back pocket. So having someone that you can call or email at any time with questions. And, so I have, starting with a very entry-level package for the solopreneur who just wants to know that they're doing everything right from the get-go, and it goes up from there.
Well, one thing you said resonates with me highly. Someone in your back pocket, and I'll just take it a step further, someone you can trust, because that is one of the things that you are known for, being one who is trustworthy, dependable. These are the words that have been described of you by your past clients, and that's commendable. And that's not just a nicety. It's really important when you are choosing. There are many lawyers out there. What makes you choose one versus another? It's the level of trust and comfort that you have. And the mere fact that you are dealing specifically with small business owners, women-owned businesses, solopreneurs, that shows that you have a sweet spot and a care for that segment of the entrepreneurial community. And if you are a part of that, that's a natural draw. That's a natural draw. So share with us about why others don't do what you do. Why is that a secret sauce for success for you?
I think having come from initially I was in law firm practice, I was in a medium-sized firm, and the way lawyers have always done things is a stumbling block for a lot of lawyers. They're used to billable hours and accounting for every 6 minutes of time, something which I never enjoyed. And, that's just the way it's always been done. So that's the way they continue to do it. I also knew, going into this, that I was turning that model on its head. I'm not the only attorney out there working this way, but they are kind of few and far between.
The basic thing that it provides is that, as you said, no surprises. No
Right.
surprises. You can plan for your expenses. You can plan in taking care of your business the way it needs to be taken care of, and not wondering what is going to be the bill at the end of the day or the end of the month. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being so thoughtful to creatively come up with that type of pricing strategy. I'm sure it's been very, very beneficial for you. So let's shift gears now to the intellectual property. We all had an idea when we started our business to be able to provide a product or a service, and it was likely based on our own experience, pro or con, or our education, or something we experienced through our days. And so we decided to make a business around it. We saw a gap or a hole that we could fill, and we came up with our own special way of doing that. That's our intellectual property. How do we actually put arms around it, package it, and protect it?
That is an excellent question. It's one that a lot of small business owners overlook in terms of, their needs in running their business. So there's two different types of intellectual property that I deal with, which is copyrights and trademarks. There's also patents and trade secrets. I don't practice in those areas, so I don't, like to talk about them because there are other people expert there that I would leave that to. In the copyright world, it's all about your content. It's all about those things that you have created. So if you are a consultant or a coach, you've created programs, you maybe have workbooks, you have blog posts that you've done. All of that is copyrightable content. And that would be protected by filing copyright registrations. Now, in the US, we're unique in that your copyright arises the minute you create that stuff. You own it. Nobody can take it away from you, but you do have to file the copyright registration with the US Copyright Office if you want to be able to sue in federal court for copyright infringement. So, that's something that a lot of people aren't aware about. With the trademarks and service marks, the only difference there is a trademark is for a physical good or product. A service mark is for a service. And they tend to be referred to broadly just as trademark. But the trademark is all about branding. It's about knowing that this product or this service came from your company. So it could be the name of your company. It could be the name of a product or service. It could be your tagline, your logo. All of those things fall under the general trademark application, and that there is no protection unless you actually file with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Now, you do have some common law rights to your name when you put it out there, but those common law rights are very easy to overcome. So if you have something that's unique and that really defines you as the source of that good or service, then you're going to want to talk to an attorney about filing a trademark.
Wow. So give us an idea of maybe some individuals you've worked with, maybe where they were, what they were struggling with before they met you, before they found you. And then once they found you, what did you do with them? How did you help them? And where are they now that you have provided your excellent service? So give us kind of a before, once they worked with you, and then after.
Wow, that's a good one. So I'm immediately drawn to one of my clients. She runs a residential composting service. So she has a program that takes trucks out to residences, gives them the bucket, collects their household waste, takes it to a farm, gets it recycled into fertilizer, and you can get the fertilizer in the spring for your yard or your garden or whatever. It's an amazing program. When she came to me, she was struggling with a couple of different things. And one of them was the contracts that her clients were signing and making sure that it was clear about when monies were due, what happened when you didn't pay on time, just those kind of things. And it's taking what she was working with. And a lot of my clients start off with either no contract at all or a contract that they've cobbled together from stuff they found on the internet, which oftentimes gives them the correct business terms, dollars and cents and what the service is, but it doesn't give them the correct legal terms and the legal protections that they need. So I was able to take that contract she was using, redo it for her, put in all the legal protections that she was missing, and make her feel much more comfortable about sending that out and about how to tweak it for different customers. And that's a lot of what I do is education on here's what's in your contract. Here's why it's there. Here's what you can change and what you can't. And, that's the way I work with my clients. It's a lot of collaboration and making sure that they understand what they're getting. It's not just, here's your document, now go home and use it, right? let's see, I've also had clients come to me where they've had issues. I had one who was doing a collaboration with someone else and hadn't drafted a contract up front and ended up with an issue, a fight over the intellectual property that came out of that collaboration. And unfortunately, the way that went, she ended up having to rebrand and start over. But that's the kind of thing where if I've got you up front, we can work through making sure that you have the contract that protects your intellectual property so that that doesn't happen to you.
Wow, those are excellent examples, and thank you for sharing that. In our audience, there are many business owners who thrive on collaborations, collaborative partnerships. One person has one piece of the puzzle, another has another piece of the puzzle, and together you have something great, but you still are individual businesses. You're collaborative partners, you're not business partners. So what tips can you share with those who are doing a lot of collaborative ventures, joint ventures? There are differences between the two. Share with us what tips you would give as guidance for those who are coaches, consultants, small business owners who are collaborating with others.
Don't enter the collaboration until you've signed the agreement. That's number one. A lot of people start off and, when you start this, you're excited about what you're doing together. It's all happy. And it's like when you first meet somebody that you have a romantic interest with. There's all the blush on and everybody's excited. But, the same way that you want a prenup in a marriage, you want this collaboration agreement as your prenup for your collaboration. And in that collaboration agreement, you want to specify what each party is bringing to the table and make sure that it's clear that for intellectual property, each party owns whatever they bring. And if you want anything other than that, that needs to be spelled out in the contract to protect you so that what you walk away with at the end of the day doesn't disappoint you. And the other thing is, making sure that people understand that when this collaboration ends, what can you do with the material? And it depends on what the collaboration is and what's coming out of it. It could be you can't do anything with it. It could be each party can take it and do whatever they want with it and create derivative works and, go to town. It could be something in between where each party can only take and use what they contributed. But you want to make sure all that is spelled out in a contract.
So there are many summits going on since the pandemic started. Everything's being done virtually, lots of collaborations with people, not only within your own country, but internationally. Any tips on how to put together those collaborative opportunities that may be internationally based and or summit based, because there are lots of summits going on, and it's a very nice honor to be asked to be a part of a summit, to be a speaker on a summit, or contribute your downloadable giveaway or freebie to a summit or a giveaway opportunity. Are there any things we need to watch out for in those types of scenarios?
Right. So the first question there is going to be, are you being presented with a contract? And if not, should you be presenting them with a contract? Some of the pitfalls there is, so you're on somebody else's channel, wherever that is. Do they get the rights to continue to use that material? For example, with a podcast, you want to be able to continue to show that podcast for years into the future, that episode, and that becomes part of your podcast library. So you want to make sure you have the rights from your guests to continue to use that episode. For the downloadables, who has the rights to that when the summit or whatever ends? And can the person who organized the summit continue to use those? Or is that a limited time engagement? Or is that something that whoever contributed that downloadable, it's on their website where you can download it from for a period of time, and they have an obligation or no obligation to leave it in place and continue. So those are the kinds of things you want to bake into that agreement so that you're setting expectations and it's clear on both sides what's happening there.
Have you had any clients that have been doing virtual-based services, and because they are crossing the lines of their state, is there anything we need to look for or be precautious about related to interstate related activity?
The answer to that is yes, but everything is going to depend on industry and exactly what they're doing. So it's hard to give blanket advice there. But the thing is, you have to be aware of, if you are in the insurance industry, you need a license in every state that you're, crossing into. If you're a coach, you probably don't. That's not a highly regulated industry, so you can probably work across state lines with no problems. But then you want to be aware of things like you're collecting people's personally identifiable information, PII. And as you're collecting that, every state has different laws about what you can and can't do with it. So you need to kind of educate yourself, is there a time limit that I have to keep this stuff? When do I have to get rid of it? For stuff that is web-based, there's the GDPR, that's the General Data Protection Regulations out of the European Union. There's CCPA, which is the California Consumer Privacy Act, that regulates how you collect that information, how you keep it, what you have to do if somebody contacts you about getting rid of it, what you have to do if you, breach notification laws. So you just need to be educated and aware that those things are out there.
Wow, that sounds like a class that we need to take.
that can affect you. And as a matter of fact, I do have a privacy policy class for just that purpose.
Well, I would love for you to share towards the end how people can get in contact with you and find out about that. But before we get to that point, you mentioned about insurance. How important is it? Sure, it's important, but what industries, what services, what types of products need to have business insurance?
Business insurance, for me, falls almost in the same lines of whether or not you should continue being a sole proprietor or you need that LLC. It kind of falls into the same bucket. If you are, let's say, for example, selling greeting cards on Etsy. So you are a crafter, you make beautiful greeting cards and you sell them on Etsy. Your chances of being sued for selling greeting cards on Etsy are pretty slim. The greeting cards aren't going to hurt anybody. They're not going to cause financial damage. They're not going to cause physical damage. So your risk is pretty low. Compare that to somebody who has a brick and mortar store and they're selling greeting cards, but they're also selling candles and scented body lotions and some other things. Well, you have now just increased your risk by like 100-fold, because in the brick and mortar store, you have a chance of slip and fall injuries. Because you're selling scented products, you have a chance of allergic reactions. So you've got product liability. In those cases, you need the LLC and you need the business owner's insurance. And there's a risk profile for every different type of business. And it's going to be, how much do you personally have that needs to be protected? How much does your business have that needs to be protected? And how much risk are you in the type of business you're doing? So the more you have to protect yourself. So if you own your home, you have a car, you have 401k accounts, you have money in the bank, get an LLC and get some business insurance. I would say, the more you have to protect, and again, the more risk you have. If you are giving any kind of financial advice, medical or nutrition advice, have any products that could potentially harm someone, all of those things, you're going to need the insurance to cover for those liabilities.
I had a question and it just flew out of my head that was related to insurance. Hopefully it will come back to me before we end. But as it relates to insurance, what was it? Oh, can't remember right now. Hopefully
That's
it'll come
always so
back to me.
frustrating.
But would you share with us, for those who would like more information from you, would you share how others can get in contact with you? And hopefully it'll pop back in.
Okay. The best way to reach me is through my website, which is my name. It's Cheri, Cheri, Andrews.com. And if you go to my website, there's a link in the upper right-hand corner where you can schedule a free consultation with me. There's information on the website about my book. There's links to take you to my Facebook business page, which will then link you to my Facebook group if you want to just be in a group where there's, information for all small business owners about legally protecting your business. There's a link to my LinkedIn. All the way at the bottom of the homepage, there's a link to my newsletter list. And I put out newsletter every other week. That is, just basically tips and tricks and whatever's up that week. And so pretty much anything you want to know about what I'm up to is on my website.
Well, thank you so much for that. And we will put that information after the show is over. I'll put that into the thread for this particular episode. And I remembered my question. My question actually is twofold, and I think it's a great way to kind of close us out. A little thing happened about 18, 19 months ago where a lot of people were working from home. They're working from home for their 9-to-5 job, not literally 9 to 5, but they're being an employee, they are working from home, or they have their own business or started a business and are working from home as well. Do we need insurance? And do we need what other types of coverage do we need because we are specifically working from home? And I'm sorry, before I forget the other part, working from home and still yet dealing with other states. Is that a caveat we need to be aware of or do anything different related to?
So working from home and new businesses, the pandemic actually fueled a huge, huge growth in new small business. According to the Census Bureau, and I checked into this because I find it fascinating, 4.4 million new businesses were created in 2020.
And 500,000 in just January of 2021 alone.
Yep, exactly. So there are new businesses out there right and left, and a lot of them are home-based. Two things to think about when you are a home-based business. Your homeowner's insurance or renter's insurance may or may not cover your business stuff. More than likely it won't, but check your policy, check with your insurance agent, look into that, because if it doesn't, you're going to want to make sure that you have the business owner's policy. Now, the business owner's policy, you can roll a number of things into that. So one thing would be like E&O insurance, general liability. So if you're in one of those riskier areas or you're giving out advice of any kind that somebody could come back and sue you about, or you have a product that could potentially cause a problem, you want that general liability coverage. But then there's also business interruption. So if for some reason you had to stop, you could have that covered. And then there's business property. So things like your office space, your desk, your computer, your office supplies,
your ring lights and your monitors.
Yeah, all of those things that are allowing you to effectively run your business, they are probably not covered under your homeowner's insurance. So you're going to want to add those to your business owner's policy under property coverage. And sometimes you can get a rider on your homeowners to cover that. Sometimes you can get a rider on a general liability policy. It's not a huge increase in premiums because, if you're a small home-based business, you're not insuring a lot of stuff, but it is something that you want to keep in mind, because otherwise, if you were to have a flood or your house was catch fire and your computer melts, well, you have to replace it. And hopefully you've backed up everything to the cloud or to an external hard drive that you keep off site so that you still have access to all your information, which is another thing. Because of the problems with cybersecurity and information, you just want to make sure that all that information that's pertinent to your business is protected as well.
Absolutely. We've had a security expert a few episodes ago, so check that out. Sean St. Hill. He is a cybersecurity expert, and he gave some great tips, especially related to entrepreneurs working from home, as well as employees working from home as well. So with that, Cheri, thank you so very much for entertaining all of my questions that I had on behalf of our audience, on behalf of the employees as well as entrepreneurs in our audience. Thank you so very much. Give us your contact information one more time so that those who are interested can get in contact with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jacqueline. This has been so much fun. I could talk about this stuff like all day long. So for me, this is just almost playing. But again, my contact information, it's my name. It's www.cheriandrews.com. And Cheri is Cheri, Andrews.com. And that links you to just about any place else you want to go to find me.
Great. Thank you so very much. Now, this was a power-packed edition of The Difference Makers where we went over just a bit, but it was well worth it, and it's worth a deeper dive to call Cheri and get additional information for your particular business type, your thoughts of going into business, or even as a employee working from home and what you need to do to protect yourself working from home. Cheri can give you some answers. So thank you again, Cheri, for being with us on The Difference Makers, and we'll see you next time on our show.